Chapter 42. Drakoma. The pleasant and damp sand under my feet is in a blunt yet playful disagreement with that of Saw's magnificent warmth upon my forehead. A sort of contrast that is welcomed. The breeze is ripe with the scent of salt. This wind neither whistles, nor howls, nor roars, but it sings, it promises, it tells from whence it came, of a world greater than even this. Solace and perfect order. Yes, this wind brings news of a just empire with a righteous ruler beyond the measure and thievery of time. For it, I possess a passive bilingualism. Thus I understand its breath, but I am not fluent to speak it. It is careful in its enunciation, making certain each of its words reach me in their perfect fullness.
It is a relief just being here, is it not? But you cannot stay long, I'm afraid. Although I am sure you know this.
A stable voice floats into my awareness. I open my eyes, not remembering when exactly I had first shut them. An Omanu with a complexion similar to mine, garbed as a warrior from an early period and a simpler era, nods to me. "What is this place? And who are you?" I raise these questions to the stranger.
This is the Temperamida, or the temporal middle. Some may call it the bridge betwixt. It is the transitory solitude one encounters before passing on to the higher realms, or returning to the physical by way of the mother tree, or other such methods. It is a resting place for the spirit during such journeys, a waiting chamber, if you will.
Am I dead? I feel no regret, nor have I any will to return. I am content here, and yet I know, by means not associated with how one generally knows things, that what lies above has more to offer me. So be it if I died. It doesn't so much as concern me in the slightest by which manner or mechanism I capitulated. There's only peace here, an abundance of what truly matters. And whence that wind came, the serenity is even greater.
No, you are very much alive. I brought you here to prepare and temper you for the culmination.
The warrior responds, adding a glare of valiance. I investigate my surroundings. The sky's turquoise palette dips into the briny green ocean, snugly resounding the lone island whose only populace are two drifting yet motionless phantoms. What culmination? You've yet to tell me who you are, I reply.
I am Parias.
A shock animates my soul. A frame of being one could not imagine has invigorated me. The experience of communicating with an ancient version of myself, one closer to the source of me than even I am, is inexplicable in thought nor in word. Now I remember. We were at war. Eviar was at death's foot. What happened to everyone? Has Tiamatsu prevailed? I throw myself to Parias' boots as though I were once more a child and he was my father or grandfather.
Do not grovel. Your moments of nurture have passed. Be consoled in my knowledge that time is unmoving in this plane, and Eviar has yet to be touched by death.
He speaks with absolute certainty, as though the gift of his wisdom trickled down from a higher source, one that even he could never reach. In an instant, these remembered concerns are alleviated, and I return to my feet. What can I do? What ought I do? I am candid in my questions. I give him no false sense of confidence, nor do I attach any fear to my inquiries. I only ask for instructions that are clear and concise, for an order to execute, for a how and not a why.
You are to awaken and become me again.
My ancestor replies in a commanding yet sincere and fatherly tone. How?
By shedding all of the weight you and your descendants acquired after me.
Have we stumbled so far from truth? I respond in earnest.
Empty yourself, and I will show you.
This is my arm, in all of its scales, and that is my hand, calloused and rough. This is my blade, of, by, and with my dancing around a centered column as a cosmic flame. And that is Tiamatsu's axe upon this sturdy interceding bridge that I lay forth. And below, as the waters to protect from his contamination, is Eviar's nape, in all of its passive defeat. I am watching as always, but acting no more. Parias is at the helm, and he has saved the general. Despite my voluntary inaction, it is still as though my purest intuition is now what moves this body. Yes, I may yet engage in a story that I am all the while reading. Parias parries the pale god, causing him to falter backwards with 2 staggered steps. Tiamattu postures himself as a transcendent emperor once again, secure from and yet intriguingly amused at any one that holds the potential to harm him.
Ah, Drakoma. You've come to greet me at last. How very like you to arrive between what is neither late nor early. Your timing is as impeccable as ever.
The Drakin of Oma, it is apparent at once where this name stems from. It is what Tiamattu chose to call his nemesis. The reptile, who in all senses ought be feared, has been collared and tamed, put in order. Chaos put to use. There is an odd symbiosis, or rather, commensalism. No, perhaps it is more accurately a parasitism between good and evil. One where good purifies that which is evil and wields it anew and against its progenitor. I am coming to quickly understand and thoroughly grasp such an influential reversal. It can very well be said that evil, too, attempts such a feat. One to spite the other must grow stronger, stealing from it, and the inverse is true for his adversary, an eternal tug-of-war. Right. And thus it is a parasitism. Yet one can hardly say that good engages in such an action. It is rather as such, as simply as it may be put, it is redemption. A tool that's design is to harm is made anew so that it may build by the power of goodness. I think only evil itself cannot be remade. Yet, one who falls into depravity may yet be redeemed. You know all too well how this ends, Tiamattu.
As somber and humorless as ever I see.
The god responds in an anticipated boredom. They talk amongst themselves as long-parted brothers who've nurtured a quarrel into a generational feud. The pale god with his axe handle thrown across his shoulder, and Drakoma with his astral longsword held firmly at his side more decisively than I could ever hope to wield my bow and flail. He has total control of my nature. The chains that trapped EVR were severed in Parias' second swing and sentenced to their evaporation. It was beyond my own speed as N. Within the beat of a heart, Parias shut the gap between him and his opponent, parried the execution, and cut free the prisoner. His form is perfect. He peers to the side without moving his head. A braid of vines retrieves the downed EVR into the bleak safety of the far-off dark. Payman. Tiamattu continues.
We do not find ourselves in the same circumstance as before, O defier of mortality.
He plays with his words, chuckling.
There is no longer a lock sage to assist you in my imprisonment.
I am well aware. And ought you succumb to our resistance, this truth will only serve to make your defeat more pathetic than before. Parias' response angers Tiamattu. The god snarls in contempt, though he quickly recollects himself.
Indeed,
he replies. A forest of massive pillars of solid ice erupt across the surface with Tiamattu as the fountainhead. Drakoma perceives it instinctually, reacting without thought, eluding each and every tower that bursts forth, yet he is forced back enough for the god to minimize any uninvited pressure. Amidst his forest of ice, he magnifies his voice so that all of Oma can hear. His arms open in presentation.
Behold, a display of the chasm that rests between us.
His proclamation, a manifesto of disparity.
Does the prey hold protest against the predator? Does the fish scold he who captures him? No? Then why is it that the mortals of sentience scorn and resent the masters of reality? Know your place, my futilely rebellious underlings. Be it whatsoever I may do, rebel no more.
Something has been imbalanced. It feels as though the natural inertia of being itself has slowed. A slight, abnormal grogginess introduces itself to our perception as we faintly elevate. What I see from above tells all. Tiamattu demonstrates the gap between his power and ours by first numbing, then reversing the motion of those tectonic foundations that carry our realm, accelerating their turnaround tenfold. Space is corrupted, yet time is not. It appears that he does not have authority over this much. Thanks be to whatsoever keeps him from it. Nevertheless, gravity intensifies enough so that small stones around Oma are crushed into dust, trees snap and crumble, and all subjects are forced to kiss the ground. In an excellently executed counter, Parias makes use of my mass-manipulating command better than I ever have. He is entirely familiar with me, as I am becoming with him. The ancestral hero has rebalanced his density to counter the sudden change of the unworldly pressure. Tiamattu then halts all motion entirely. The second signal, Broken World, has arrived late, but it has arrived nevertheless. Again, Parias readjusts his mass. A distant rumbling from all directions knocks and bangs at the gates of our cognizance. It grows louder and more violent as each second passes. Observing higher from our Draken's eye view, we find the culprits of the grand rumbling. The sudden and abrupt inertia after the building up of that intense momentum has spawned a legion of catastrophe. Colossal, world-devouring tidal waves form a perfect radial circle and close inwards, marching with a hungry resolve. The towering tsunamis of the Uman swallow forests, deserts, tundras, cities, and villages alike. Promptly and inexorably, they drum towards us. Parias explodes from the surface, cratering it behind his wake as he flies in an absolute verticality, far above the impending doom of the landscape and its folding horizon.